Greetings to all viewers of the Freedom TV channel. Thank you for being with us. This is our time, and here are the top news stories at this hour. I'm Yuri Kilinnik in the studio. Hello. We begin this broadcast with a heavy loss for the entire Freedom TV channel, as well as for the loved ones and relatives of our colleagues who have died. As a result of a strike by a Russian Lancet UAV in Kramatorsk, journalists from the Freedom TV channel were killed. Aliona Hramova and cameraman Yevhenii Karmazin. This was reported by the Donetsk Regional Military. The administration expresses our sincere condolences to all the loved ones and relatives of those who died in this loss. From the very first days of Russia's full-scale invasion, they covered the situation in Donetsk region, told the truth about the crimes of the Russian army and the Putin regime, the evacuation of civilians, and the stories of Ukrainian defenders. Aliona and Yevhen worked in the hottest spots of Donetsk region and were always among the first to be on the scene. This is a heavy loss for all of us and for all of Ukrainian journalism. Right, compassionate, fair, and honest. Aliona and Yevhen will forever remain in our memory just like that. But in Kyiv region, a rescuer was killed as a result of a Russian strike. 5 of his colleagues were wounded. This happened when firefighters were extinguishing a blaze at the site where a drone had struck in the Kupiansk district. At that moment, the Russians launched a repeat attack. Yuri Chistikov was 50 years old. He is survived by a daughter. 2 people were injured as a result of a nighttime Russian attack on a railway station in Sumy region. Both of the injured are Ukrzaliznytsia employees. One of them is in the hospital, while the other received medical assistance at the scene, according to the Sumy Regional Military Administration. And now, up to 9. The number of injured has increased, as a result of the nighttime attack on Kyiv. The Russians struck the city with drones late last night. Civilian and residential infrastructure was damaged in several districts of the capital. For example, in Obolonsky district, a drone hit the 15th floor of an apartment building. There was also a direct hit on the 21st floor of a building in the Desnyansky district. The most destruction occurred in the Podilskyi district. There, the following were damaged: an educational institution, a synagogue, museums, and buildings in the business quarters. In the synagogue, windows and doors were damaged, as well as stained glass windows that are 25 years old. It is known that at the moment of the strike, a security guard was near the building and was thrown back by the blast wave.
I was just about to leave. Usually I come here at night to the shelter. And I had just gotten dressed and was about to go out when I heard a shahid flying right outside my window. Very low, just right there. And I live on the second to last floor. In about a minute, I think no more, there was a wild crash, an explosion. The building started shaking. And 5 minutes later, I came here. Of course, I didn't think it had hit here. I thought it would all be a little farther away.
Russia launched 130 drones at Ukraine that night. About 80 of them were shahids, according to the Ukrainian Air Force. The defenders of Ukraine's skies neutralized 92 Russian drones in the north and east of the country. Debris from downed drones fell in 11 locations. But it was also an uneasy night inside the Russian Federation itself. Drones attacked the Ryazan oil refinery. The facility is part of Rosneft. A fire broke out in one of the plant's units, according to local social media. The regional governor confirmed the strike. Access to the facility has been blocked. In recent years, the plant has processed about 12 million tons of oil. It had already been attacked before, and at the time of today's strike, it was operating at half capacity. The European Union has adopted its 19th package of sanctions against the Russian Federation. The restrictions target 5 Russian banks and 4 financial institutions from Belarus and Kazakhstan. The sanctions also affected vessels belonging to Russia's shadow fleet. 45 organizations were added to the sanctions list, including 17 from India and China. As stated by the head of European diplomacy, Kaja Kallas, it is becoming increasingly difficult for Putin to finance this war against Ukraine. Vitaly Sizov, a special correspondent for Freedom TV channel in Europe, is working in Brussels. Vitaly, greetings, we're waiting for more details from you. Tell us in more detail about the restrictions included in this 19th package of EU sanctions. And, as has already been reported, the President of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelenskyy, is currently in Brussels. Please share what information you have about this. About the visit.
Yuri, yes, that's right. This package was adopted rather unexpectedly, because even during the discussion stage, despite the fact that the head of European diplomacy, Kaja Kallas, mentioned October 23rd as a possible date, there was no 100% guarantee. And that's why it was somewhat of a surprise that it wasn't just politically agreed upon, but actually adopted, and right on the eve, literally just a few dozens of minutes before Volodymyr Zelenskyy arrived at the European Council building. This package was adopted. And I would add another important factor. It provides for a phased ban on the import of Russian liquefied natural gas. For long-term contracts, imports of gas from Russia to Europe will stop starting January 1st, 2027. For short-term contracts, this will happen earlier, approximately in April 2026. The year 26. Also, for the first time, the European Union has decided to impose sanctions on cryptocurrencies and has banned transactions and operations involving crypto assets for residents of the Russian Federation. Naturally, such a decision, such a package, especially against the backdrop of sanctions from the United States, which were announced yesterday, was welcomed by EU officials and the President of the European Council, Antonio Costa. He supported this decision, and he reminded everyone, including about the incidents mentioned in our news, including attacks on civilian targets against Ukraine, which are ongoing. He linked these attacks to the introduction of the new sanctions package and also announced further pressure on Moscow. Let's give him the floor.
The decision on the 19th sanctions package is critically important for us. Thank you very much. Today, this decision goes hand in hand with the one made yesterday by U.S. President Donald Trump. This package is aimed against Russian energy. God willing, it will work. Russia is showing that it does not want to end the war. They attack us again and again, striking kindergartens, schools, and civilians. Moscow is ramping up the pressure.
That was the President of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelenskyy, but the President of the European Council, Antonio Costa, also voiced his support. The introduction of a new sanctions package. Moreover, he announced further progress in using frozen Russian assets for Ukraine. He didn't explicitly mention a reparations loan, but he made it clear that today a political decision will be made that will pave the way for further use of this resource. That's more than 100 billion euros. Just that. In Belgium, in order to provide Ukraine with the necessary funding for 2026 and 2027. And we also have a soundbite, Antonio Koshki.
Despite the high expectations raised by President Trump's initiatives, it's clear today that, unfortunately, these initiatives do not align with President Putin's goodwill, and Russia is intensifying its strikes. They are increasing strikes on civilians and civilian infrastructure, which means we must continue to support your fight for a just and lasting peace. This morning, we approved the 19th package of sanctions already, targeting the Shadow Fleet, as well as Russia's banking and energy sectors. And today, at this European Council, we will make a political decision to ensure Ukraine's financial needs for 2026 and 2027, including the purchase of military equipment. This is a very strong signal to Russia. We have repeatedly stated that we will support Ukraine for as long as it takes, no matter the cost.
Let me remind you that Belgium is one of the main countries. Euroclear is located here. It's a financial institution that holds about 180 billion euros of assets belonging to the Russian Federation. These are exactly the assets that European leaders are targeting. What's good is that, while previously the leadership of Belgium, its government, categorically denied the possibility of such actions of confiscation of Russian assets, and they call it confiscation because on October 1st and 2nd, during a meeting in Copenhagen, Belgian Prime Minister Bart de Wever gave a detailed press conference. He said that freezing, that is, calling it a reparations loan, is just a more lenient term. In his opinion, it still comes down to the confiscation of Russian assets, because this decision, when you use someone else's assets, you really can't call it a loan. It's more like confiscation. But he's already willing to go for it. He doesn't deny the possibility, but he set out a number of conditions for it. He announced them today before the meeting, and there's a direct quote from him.
I look forward to discussing the issue of immobilized assets, not frozen ones. There's a big difference. Sovereign assets. There's an idea to confiscate them and transfer them to Ukraine. I'm looking for a legal basis for this decision. This is no small matter. Even during World War II, immobilized assets were left untouched. So, this is a very important step if we want to take it. We have 3 requirements. I want a full distribution of risks, because the risk is very high. We will suffer huge losses, so if you want to do this, we'll have to act together. We want guarantees. If the money has to be returned, all member states will contribute. The consequences may not be just for Belgium. And the 3rd requirement is that all countries with frozen assets must act together with us.
Bart de Wever emphasized that Belgium is, according to his information, the only country so far that provides ongoing assistance to Ukraine. That's what he means. The income from the interest on these frozen assets. Belgium transfers them through loans, through European institutions, so that Ukraine can spend this money on weapons and other needs. He emphasized that he would like other European countries as well to follow this example. If we're talking, as he said, about confiscation, for Ukraine it doesn't really matter what you call it, confiscation or a reparations loan. The main thing is to secure the necessary funding for the budget, because according to information from Ukraine's European partners, problems with budget funding could arise as early as the 2nd quarter of next year. That's why European officials are determined to act quickly. The President of Ukraine is currently taking part in a meeting, in a session of the European Council. He also has scheduled bilateral meetings with the leaders of the largest European countries and economies. We will report on them in upcoming broadcasts. For now, that's all the information we have at this moment. Yuri.
Thank you, Vitaly. But we'll keep following the news and watching what happens at this major forum and leaders' summit of the European Union, which is taking place with the participation of Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy. Thank you. That was Vitaly Sizov, special correspondent for Freedom TV channel in Europe, reporting from Brussels. Today, let me remind you, the European Union approved the 19th package of sanctions against Russia for the full-scale war launched by the Russian Federation against Ukraine. The restrictions target Russian banks, cryptocurrency exchanges, as well as companies in India and China. And today, the United States of America also imposed sanctions against Russia. Now, Russian oil giants Rosneft and Lukoil, as well as their subsidiaries, are under restrictions. The new restrictions will make Putin act more reasonably and will help bring an end to the war in Ukraine. This was stated by White House head Donald Trump during a meeting with NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte. This decision has been a long time coming, emphasized the President of the United States.
Believe me, these are massive sanctions. They are very serious. They are aimed at 2 of their major oil companies. And we hope that these restrictions won't last long. We hope that the war will be stopped. We are considering supplying various types of missiles to Ukraine, but I think they won't be needed. We just want the Russians to turn around and go home.
Subscribe to UATV English and stay updated on the most important events, top news from Ukraine and all over the world, in-depth analysis, exclusive reports and interviews, all on hand in our channel. Join our community of viewers and stay tuned.